Hey there, guys. So, yeah, playing around with shrugs, just trying to obviously grow my traps and upper back. And a lot of people just really overcomplicate, what they're trying to do and, the way they go about it. Obviously, one of the best ways to train traps is simply by shrugging. So for me, I just grab this time a dumbbell, not the usual way. I just grabbed it through the weight plates and yeah, just focused on shrugging my shoulders up towards my ears. I'm not trying to go ridiculously heavy with this variation. I'm just trying to get the work in without using a lot of additional body English. When you really load up the dumbbells really heavy and you've got one, in either hand, um, your tendency to cheat on the exercise just increases, and you're trying to sort of like shrug and then throw the weight up. And obviously, if you're trying to hit upper traps, that's not going to be ideal if you're trying to keep the tension just on those. Now, going really heavy, with shrugs, almost like, farmer's walk style weights and things like that, there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but the target muscle group you're after isn't the only thing being worked. So, when you go a lot heavier, other things come into play. And for me, I'm just trying to save the energy that I have just on upper traps and upper back. I just, want to play around with various positions with the dumbbell. I want to work the traps quite thoroughly, and there's a few different cues that I use. Like obviously, shrugging your shoulders up towards your ears is a great one, but then there's also retracting your scapula and then trying to shrug. It feels like a very awkward movement, but at the end of the day, I'm still, hitting the traps, keeping the target tension on the muscle group that I need in order to make it grow. And you got to remember, traps aren't just, there to, elevate the shoulders. Your mid traps and everything else, they help retract your scapula. And retracting your scapula and holding it in position on a heavy bench press is obviously going to make you far more stable underweight. So for me, I've got a competition coming up next year. I need to get all my groundwork set. I need to strengthen everything in order to be more stable underweight. So for me, in order to do that, I'm just simply going to start training traps a lot more. It's a muscle group that I don't really train a lot until recently because, I've got the competition coming up. So I really need to improve the development in my upper back. So you can see with these ones, this is almost like a upright row to an extent, but just with a dumbbell. And I'm just holding a very, very brief pause at the top. While you're watching it, it may not look like I'm trying to, hold a pause at the top. It's just for a split second. It's not like up and then let it drop straight back down. And then there's other variations as well. So with this one here, I was just trying to drag the weight up towards more so like my belly button sort of area, and then just retract the scapula, and then sometimes hold it there for time. And you'll see I just try and move the scapula and upper back around slightly up and then down, and that's just to feel through the traps, what's being targeted, what's burning out, and the rest of it. But yeah, a lot of the time, when you're trying to get a muscle group to grow, you need to focus on what you're trying to achieve. If you put the quality work in first and like really burn them out, even if it's with a lighter weight, you can then go heavy afterwards if you want to do your cheat shrugs and things like that. There's nothing wrong with it. But for me, it was just really trying to get the target muscle group to fire and do its job correctly. And then after that, I just mucked around with doing some very, very light face pulls, or you could almost call them upright rows. And then again, I was trying to pull my shoulders up and just, yeah, focus on the pump in the upper back. And then after that, with him, I just mucked around and did some overhead press. And then the other one, and a lot of people don't really think of it for upper back, is push ups. So, yeah, I ended up doing quite a few sets of push ups simply because the upper back and traps have to stabilize the scapula a lot versus on a bench press. You're laying flat, the scapula are retracted if you're doing it properly and you're in a very set position. But with push-ups, that's not possible. Your scapula have to move and the rest of it, and that takes a fair bit of upper back as well as stabilizing yourself. So that's what I mucked around with afterwards. Obviously here, in terms of just hitting everything that I needed to. Now, today as I'm videoing this, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to have a coffee, and I'm going to do some very, very light shrugs, just to pump a whole lot of blood into the upper back and traps to help with recovery. So, as I'm recording this, obviously I haven't done the videos yet, but I'll stitch this on the end. And yeah, you guys get a idea of what I'm sort of doing at the moment, and trying to be a little bit more consistent with some of the longer uploads on YouTube and sort of create a decent training diary of sorts. So yeah, I'll let the video play out. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, have a great day wherever you are.